Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Ghost and today we'll be taking a look at the Tier 4 Japanese light cruiser, the Tech Tree light cruiser, the AGANO. I did get this ship also out of the crates. Believe it or not, it was the last one I got. I got the Shimanto first out of all things, and then right after the Shimanto I got the Tier 6, and then I got the Tier 5 later. And then I got, just like a couple days ago, the Tier 4. So, today we're doing a review of the Tier 4. Then, probably for Thursday, we'll do a review of the Tier 6. And then a review of the Tier 7. So, we're going to get all these Japanese light cruisers done this week. Okay, so look out for all those videos coming in the future. But, until then, let's go ahead and take a look at the AGANO today, shall we? So, for the upgrades and loadout, we have Aiming Systems Mod 1. And we are fully upgraded as well. For the loadout, we are running, well, we're not running, but we have high explosive, armor piercing, and we have some torpedoes. We'll cover these three things in the specs tab. We have standard damage control parties, 3 sonars, and 3 catapult fighters. The sonars are decent, 3.9 kilometer of torpedoes and ships. So, there you go. We are running the Marine Day 21 flag along with the Imperial Japanese Navy camouflage, which does look really good. So I decided to put that baby on since the AGANO doesn't have its own permanent camouflage like the other tech trees do. Moving on to the specs for the survivability, we've got 25,800 hit points with a 4% torpedo damage reduction. For the artillery, we have 6 152mm guns. They are double turrets. We've got 3 of them. So if we take a look in-game, as you guys can see, we've got 4 off the bow here, 2 turrets, 2 barrels on each turret, and we have 1 off the stern here, 2 barrels on the turret again. So you got 6 guns in total. Not the most heavy-hitting broadside in the world, but, I mean, it is something, right? So you at least have some decent little guns, and they aren't horrible. Okay, we'll talk about that more probably later. Now, the firing range on my build currently is 15 kilometers, somewhere around there, give or take. The reload is 7.9 seconds, which is a little high for a light cruiser. All things considering, it's 6-inch guns. I would think these guns would reload a bit quicker, but that is something that the whole line seems to struggle with a little bit, is the reload. Okay, they all have longer reload for some reason. I mean, I guess it's a balancing factor, but don't let that fool you. These cruisers are still really good. I don't mind them at all, okay? Sometimes they're a little wonky, but, you know, that's World of Warships Legends for you. It can be a wonky game sometimes. But anyways, the 180-degree turn time for those turrets themselves is about 30 seconds. Now, on my build currently, the HE shell maximum damage is 2,900 with a 16.917, percent fire chance, if you round it up. And the AP shell maximum damage is the same as the HE on my build, about 2,900. So, overall, okay, not too bad. Moving on to the torpedoes. Also, there is secondaries on this ship, but there's it's a meme. If you're ever having to depend on your secondaries in the AGANO, you're playing it wrong, okay? But anyways, moving on to the torpedoes, we've got 610mm quadruple launchers. We've got a grand total of 8 of these babies. So, 2 launchers, 4 tubes on each launcher. So, pretty nasty. These torpedoes reload in about 105 seconds. So, a little over a minute and a half. Or more like 2 minutes, isn't it? Yeah, that's not the greatest. But it is what it is. Yeah, a little over a minute and a half, though. The 180-degree turn time for those torpedo tubes, pretty good. The maximum damage for those torpedoes is also pretty damn good, 17,333. So pretty damn spicy torpedoes there. The torpedo detectability for those is about 1.6 kilometers, so it's a pretty average for a Japanese torpedo. The torpedo range is really good, 12.5 kilometers with a 60-knot speed. So overall, the torpedoes are pretty good. Now, one thing I want to mention is there is a premium version of this as well. In real life, there I believe were 2 of these, or maybe 4. I don't remember. Yeah, there were 4 of them. But the AGANO is the lead ship of her class, the AGANO class light cruisers. The Yahagi is one of these, okay, as well. As you guys can see, they look basically identical, okay, except the Yahagi is a premium. And it doesn't have as long range torpedoes, and it has slightly worse reload on the guns. So AGANO, I guess, is just a better version of the Yahagi, which I think it should be. It's a tech tree. It should be, you know, a little better than the one you have to pay for, or the one you got from a campaign a long time back. But anyways, where were we? That's right, the torpedoes. We already covered that. So pretty decent torps. Long range, pretty quick, you know, average long lance Japanese torpedoes. The AA defense is not that good, I'll be honest. 25 millimeter. You got some 25 millimeters. You got 22 of those babies. Average damage of 40 seconds, or 40, with a 3.1 kilometer range. So there you go. You have some more 25 millimeters in triple-barreled mounts. Those shoot out to 3.1 kilometers as well, with a 49 average damage per second. And you have those 76 millimeter secondaries that are dual purpose, meaning they can also shoot at airplanes. Okay, so you got some 76 millimeter guns that provide flat clouds, if I'm not mistaken, that have an average damage of about 21. So those also shoot out a little further, 3.5 kilometers. So the AA is not the greatest, but it is there. But like I said, it's like nothing significant. You're not going to be able to stop a carrier from attacking you. They're going to be able to get all their strikes off, more likely than not, okay? You just don't put out a lot of AA. Now the maneuverability is pretty decent. 35 knot maximum speed on my build currently, and I think that's without even building into it, really. Turning circle radius is a pretty average, 690 meters, nothing special there, and a 7.4 second rudder. And finally, for the concealment, this thing is decently stealthy. 9.6 kilometer detection by sea, 6 by air, 2 guaranteed with a 4.8 detectability while firing in smoke screens. So overall, concealment's not bad. This thing's not a bad light cruiser, but you got to remember, it's still tier 4, and it does have a pretty exposed citadel, as you guys can see. But also, you just don't have any armor. I mean, 13 millimeters of bow armor. You're not going to stop anything. Anything with, I believe, 6-inch guns can go straight through that, if I'm not mistaken. 8-inch guns, definitely. So you got to watch out for Pensacola's and Aobas and stuff like that. And, of course, every fucking battleship in existence. Pardon my language. No battleship is going to have a problem penning you. Okay, there's every battleship out there is going to be able to smack you around. So you really got to be careful in these cruisers. Really in any tier 4 light cruiser, or any cruiser, no matter what tier. But especially in these. These are delicate flowers. You've got to be careful. Now, taking away all that, this is the Citadel, the most vital part of the ship. As you guys can see, it is pretty large. That's what she said. No, seriously, though, it is a pretty large Citadel, so you gotta be really careful, because I have been deleted in this. I know you guys could as well. Big Citadel. Any range, any distance, people are going to have no problem citadeling you, so you really got to watch it out there on the high seas. For the overview, big yield, I would say so. It does have pretty good torps. Sluggish shot, yeah, these guns do shoot to the moon. We'll talk about that probably in the gameplay. And compromising. Incoming high caliber AP shells are more likely to overpenetrate. I guess that's every light cruiser, but this thing still, you can't hide the fact that it has a pretty decently sized citadel, so you got to really be careful there. The AGANO. The design of the AGANO class cruisers began in the second half of the 1930s. Their main purpose was reconnaissance, so the cruisers primarily required high speed, which necessitated weakening their armor. Their armament consisted of six 6-inch 152mm guns and 3 turrets. During World War II, cruiser AGANO participated in escort and patrol operations and also took part in the Battle of Empress Augusta Bay. On February 17th, 1944, the cruiser was sunk by a submarine, of course it was, USS Skate, while en route for repairs. She entered service in 1942, and there were 4 ships of this class in the series, one of them being the Yahagi. So, yeah, there you go. But anyways, let's take a look at the commander, and then I'll bring you guys over to the gameplay portion today. We're running Duvernay as an inspiration. I like to run this guy so I can get that extra high explosive damage. And we're running Gunichi Mikawa for that extra cruiser detectability. Her base trait is the deck is on fire. We're running Beyond Range, Igniter, Hellfire, fixated and refill station. She's a legendary 3, rank 16 captain. Also, speaking of commanders, I don't have Azrelena Tago, so for people who are going to go in the comments and say, Dr. Ghost, you need to put on Azrelena Tago, I don't have her, unfortunately, and I do know her potential with the Japanese cruisers, so it isn't a secret to me. If I can pick her up sometime in the future, I will. But until then, we're going to have to deal with what we got. So I'll bring you guys now over to the gameplay portion. With that out of the way, I hope you all do enjoy it. Alrighty, so here we are in the AGANO. You guys already know that, but we're going to be on Warrior's Path, and it is a domination mode. We're on the left side currently, or the Bravo side, and we're gonna see what we can go ahead and do. Alright, so the AGANO, a light cruiser, very light, and we are in a full-on battleship carrier lobby. Not exactly the best matchmaking in the world, but I mean, hey, we're a light cruiser at the end of the day. We can still set a lot of fires and cause the enemy some major issues. Now, one thing I want to mention about the AGANO is, or most of these Japanese light cruisers, is they're not like super DPM machines, right? You got Wichitas, you've got even ships like, you know, Dallases, and you got ships like Suzuyas and Mogamis and Mainzes and Weimars, all those kind of super DPM machines that are notorious for putting out lots and lots of DPM and, you know, being some of the most powerful cruisers at the tier. And they still are the most powerful cruisers at the tier. These cruisers are not carry ships. They're not going to be those kind of cruisers that are going to be going on to have 4 to 5k base XP games with, you know, 10 to, you know, or 9 or 8 kills, right? You're not going to be super carrying in these ships. I mean, I'm not saying you can't. I'm sure if the right circumstances allow it, you can have a good time and potentially do a lot of great things. There's an upcoming video, probably on Friday, you guys can look out for my video and review and gameplay on the Shimanto, which I will be covering. And I had a fucking crazy game in the Shimanto, and they are capable of doing things, but compared to other cruisers at their tiers, for example, the AGANO being tier 4, what are some notorious cruisers at this tier? Well, the Omahas, for example, have such better DPM. The Königsberg, better DPM, more shells to put down range, and I mean, there's a lot of cruisers at this tier that are just better than the AGANO, unfortunately. But just because these ships are a little, you know, on the downside of the spectrum when it comes to tech trees, doesn't mean that they aren't bad ships. You can still have good games in them, and we talk about this for every single ship in the game. For example, we did a review of the Mysore last week, and we know that it's not a very good ship, statistically speaking. But you can still have a decent time with it, but, you know, it's harder to since it's, you know, not as good as the other tech tree counterparts. So, my point being is this thing's not great, and it kind of goes through the whole line like that. Each cruiser's not the greatest, but they can be great in very specific scenarios. Okay? So, anyway, so far, for the first few minutes of this game, we're just kind of kiting around, dishing out torpedoes. We're zoning with them, okay? Zoning torpedoes. We're sending them where I think the enemy might pop up. So I'm just sending them out there just because, you know, why not? That's exactly what they're for. That's what the Japanese did in real life. I mean, they didn't necessarily do that in real life. I mean, they did send them out, you know, strategically, you know, in front of fleets. But, you know, this is World of Warships Legends. Not everybody sails in straight lines, so we do have to, like, you know, send them out there, you know, just kind of willy-nilly, hoping that some of them do hit. And in the meantime, while we're doing that, we're sending out loads and loads of high explosive, we're, you know, setting fires and doing all sorts of things there, as, you know, most light cruisers are supposed to do. Now, here's an interesting scenario. We have a Furitako coming out, or the Furitaka, you know, to actually pronounce it correctly, but, you know, we call it the Furitako because it's funny. This guy's coming out, he has no camo, and it seems like he's pretty oblivious. Now, he's shooting high explosive as well, and although it's not AP, it still does hurt, because remember, we're a light cruiser, any shell hurts this thing. High explosive or AP, whatever. Now, if he loads AP, it's a bad day. We can't really angle to his AP, unless he hits us at a very specific angle, like on our belt or whatnot. But we have to be careful. But luckily, he's still just shooting high explosive, so I can afford to give up a little bit more skirt to kind of turn in and fight this guy. I'm not really scared of him. He's shown me that he's not very competent so far. and which I understand. It is tier 4. Not everybody at this tier is going to be like, you know, pretty good, right? Not everybody knows what they're doing yet. People are still figuring the game out. That's why I always tell newer players to, you know, to come down to lower tiers to figure things out, okay? It's a good place to be. But you gotta watch out, because there are people like me out here who will absolutely take advantage of you, okay? Because, you know, I'm trying to record games, and I'm trying to, you know, seal club occasionally, and, you know, we do take full advantage of this. But then again, I mean, there's bad players at every tier, so it's nothing really new, but, you know, I'm just saying, tier 4, tier 3, the best place is to learn down here. And right there, he goes full broadside at basically point-blank range, you know, considering naval, all things considering, and yeah, we absolutely send him back to port with a full salvo of armor piercing. 4 citadels. Yeah, that guy had a lot of fun, for sure. That's our first kill of the game. We're up to 40,000 damage, which is not bad at all so far, considering we only have 6 guns, and we've hit no torpedoes. So not too bad. I will take what I can get, you know what I mean? So, anyway. Von der Tann, that's a mobile exclusive ship. That's only on mobile. Hopefully Wargaming releases that on consoles as well. That'd be cool, because I'm not gonna, you know, buy a super expensive phone just to get, you know, some tier 3 battleship, right? I'm not gonna do that. I don't believe in spending crazy amounts of money to play World of Warships Legends on a phone. Ridiculous. When I have a console, I can play it on. So I'll wait. I'll be patient. Wargaming did say that, hey, we're gonna release it. But it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just a tier 3 battleship. But, you know, still, I like to get things that other people, you know, get. It's only fair. But, anyway, Von der Tann, nonetheless, though, is down. We did set a fire on him, and our teammates took him down. And, well, there you go. And so far, I mean, this is a pretty close game, all things considering. I mean, we do have two out of the 3 caps, but as you guys can see, still, we're pretty close when it comes to ships. We have the lead currently. I mean, the enemy only has 4 ships. We have 5 ships, but, you know, we've seen it before. This can go either way. There's plenty of games out there where people have a winning advantage and they just completely throw. I've been a part of those games plenty of times. And, you know, even I've sometimes, you know, been a part of the problem. We won't talk about that, but sometimes, you know, shit happens, right? Ship happens, as people like to say on World of Warships and World of Warships Legends. But, yeah, Carl Shrew out here. Carl Shrew, I'm not too worried. It looks like he's a mobile player, judging by his gamer tag, the ID with a hashtag and a bunch of numbers. So really not too scared of him, but we still have to be worrisome. You never know. He might be one of those rare mobile players that knows how to swap over from AP to HE and vice versa and blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now, there's a farragut out here. I sent torpedoes around that island a while ago, and it looks like he's sailing right into them. And, yeah. Okay. I mean, that is what those torpedoes are for. They're for things like that. People that are sailing all willy-nilly, and, well, we catch them. He turned at the worst time possible, and we, yeah, took full advantage of that and torped him into the, you know, into the shadow realm there for sure. Anyway, that's our second kill of the game. Now, it looks like this Carl Shrew is trying to come around this island. I don't have torpedoes, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna swap over to the armor piercing, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to one-shot this guy is with AP. I need to get him out of the game, or else he might obliterate me. Now, he's coming around the island, and he's looking for his muffins, and we're not going to give him those muffins. We're going to give him our muffins, and, well, down he goes. Yeah, that's our third kill of the game with a devastating strike. That's a back-to-back devastating strike, by the way. We dev-struck the farragut with a torpedo, and we dev-struck the Carl Shrew with our guns. As you guys just saw, 4 more citadels. So as you guys can see, in very, very specific situations, this ship can be good. Then again, every cruiser can do what I just did there. That's nothing special. But, I mean, hey, you gotta take what you can get, right? I'm trying to play this thing to the best of my ability. And, well, it is paying off for the most part. So, and it does help, too, that the enemies that I'm fighting aren't exactly the greatest in the world. So, you know, I will take it. But anyways, we're flipping their cap, their only cap, the Bravo cap. And, well, we're about to have that in about, you know, 5 seconds. And then, yeah, the only ship left on the enemy team is the carrier, the Hermes. And, well, the Hermes is just sitting still. He's getting torped. He's getting shot at by basically the whole entire team here. And, well, yep, it's basically Jover for him. Not a whole lot he can do from here. But at this point, I'm just trying to farm a little bit of damage, messing around with the guns, and, well, once this guy goes down, that will be the end of the game. That or if we point out. I mean, we're at 950 points, but he's on low HP. I think we'll finish him in time. And, I mean, as you guys can see, the beams of shells heading his way. He's, yeah. Hey, oh, there we go, our high caliber with the last salvo. High caliber medal to finish it off. But anyways, that is the end of the game and the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. That's the AGANO. Nothing spectacular, but, I mean, it is something. It's not a bad little cruiser. I'm not going to be playing this thing a whole lot over, you know, other cruisers at Tier 4. But, I mean, hey, I will take it, man. Top of the leaderboard, you know, 2,500 base XP plus some. I will take it, man. But anyways, hope you all did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys thought of this one in the comments below. And, yeah, nonetheless, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace out. Stay healthy, as always.